Okay, sorry guys for any disruption. I had a phone call come through and it cut my video off, but I knew I'm just gonna pick right back up where I left off. Bottle feeding my child, I had to start my first one at 5 months old, and the only reason was because I ended up pregnant while breastfeeding, and my OBGYN told me, you know, that can cause miscarriage and stuff, and it was making me like have contractions and stuff because that's what breastfeeding naturally does. I think it's better for both mom and baby to breastfeed, so if you can do it, you should. I believe it's better. There's some people that say there's research out there that says there's no different, but I think there's tons of research out there that says there is. I think it helps with their immune system and growth, and breastfed babies tend to be bigger. Bottle feeding is an option, you know, if you have to. Obviously, I was in a situation where I did not have a choice. And I'm going to tell you, going on a rant right now, it was one of the most painful experiences I ever did. My nipples hurt for weeks. Now doing the second one, like, it wasn't that bad because, like, my milk never stopped producing while I was pregnant, even though I quit nursing. So it's kind of, like, easy. But, like, building your milk up and dealing with engorgement, and at one point I got mastitis in both of my breasts. I mean, it is not the most fun experience. I can do a whole nother video on breastfeeding if you would like for me to. But, I felt like it was my obligation as a mother to do it, and I could not, with integrity and my consciousness, go straight to bottle feeding. Okay, the cry it out method. It depends on the age. When they are at a certain point in development where they realize that you do love them and that you're there, I think it's okay. And I think it's okay to go in and check on them and then, you know, continue to let them cry it out. This is not something you do with a 2-week-old, no. You don't let 2-week-olds cry it out. But, you know, when you're getting into 5-6 months, I think it's okay, you know, for a certain amount of time. There were times where, like, I had no choice, and my kids had cried out, and there was probably closer to like a year old, and there was just nothing I could do. Okay, spanking. I do not agree with beating your children. Do I threaten and follow through with giving my children spanking? Yes. Are they at an age now where I believe they are effective? No. But if I say, you know, you're getting 3 pops on your butt for if you do this again, they understand if they do this, this is the consequence, and that is something I do follow through with. But as far as, like, instilling fear, no, I think that's wrong. But I think that spanking as a consequence, as long as your children know it's a consequence, is totally acceptable. Co-sleeping. I co-slept with both of my children. They did have their own cribs, and there were times where we did not co-sleep together, but nursing, it was a lot easier because I was able to lay there in the bed, nurse, you know, just like roll over and nurse. I had like a little, like an incliner thing with like little sides on it that I could just put right in my bed to kind of keep them in position on their back. So I felt pretty safe with it, and they were fine. I was a little more precautious having that in my bed just because I did have a niece that passed away from SIDS. So if you don't know what that is, you can look it up. But they say that tends to run in families, so obviously that was a fear of mine. So I took extra precautions, made sure, you know, certain kinds of blankets, how to lay them, swaddle them, have them at the incline, stuff like that. So I did do that. As far as like older, that's up to you. Some children don't want to go to their own beds after they've been used to being in your bed. That's your own personal deal. I personally, like, my kids sometimes still sleep with me well, I'm a single mom. So, If they want to come in my room and watch a movie, it's still to this day does not bother me. So that is what it is. I promise you they're not using the restroom if you can hear the toilet flush. Owen is cleaning the bathroom, so he's trying to earn that dollar. If you watch my vlogs, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, public, home, private, or charter school. This is another one I'm pretty passionate about. I was personally homeschooled for a couple of years. Absolutely hated it. Hated it. I think it completely ruined my social life in high school. I think it created a lot of problems socially for me, which led to problems emotionally with me. So I had an extremely negative experience with homeschooling. Obviously, I'm a public school teacher, so I'm partial to the public school system. But I think when you're not informed about the public school system, social media portrays public schools as not the best thing. And I'm not going to go on a rant. I think there are reasons for homeschooling. Like if you have a child with like a disability or is autistic and they are not comfortable, obviously it's public school's job to make them as comfortable as possible, but it boils down to each child and their needs. And you as a parent, what works best for you. I think there are times like in cases like that where, you know, children with special needs might need that extra attention that they just cannot get in their public school setting. I think there are some fabulous private schools out there, and if you can afford those are a great option. I think it's really important to look into what are their high stakes testing. You know, are they accredited? Things like of that nature. Charter, you're really going to have to look at the school board of your charter. I think charters it's kind of like private. Some are good and some are not, okay? I think public school is fairly safe all the way around. So public school is what I fully support 100%. Vaccines. Vaccinate your children. If you ever want to get into the research, and I just wrote a grad school paper on this research, so I'm pretty informed on the topic. Vaccines do not cause autism. There was a scientist in Europe who wanted to make a correlated link to it, and the information that was given was actually falsified. He actually lost his license doing so for publishing false information. But people still believe this theory because they want to blame something for it. Vaccinate your children. If you are more comfortable with the later vaccination process where it starts at like 6 months instead of a newborn, okay. But vaccinate your children. Medicating children. Yes and no. I use a lot of essential oils, so that's more of like Eastern medicine. I believe essential oils can do a lot of things. I have cured fever. I have cured, nausea, diarrhea, sinus issues, all kinds of stuff with just using natural essential oils. Also look into those because you can overdose on them. They are highly potent. So you need to know how to research and know how to use them. But, you know, if my child has a high fever or is having muscle problems, I have no issue giving them Tylenol or Motrin. I do make sure that I buy ones that are color free because some of the colors in the medicines are actually extremely toxic, and they're so toxic that the FDA won't even allow them to be in food. So if you think I'm joking, go do your research. When I think of medication, I have a child with ADHD, and he is on psychoactive medication. I went from him failing kindergarten to being above grade level within a year and a half. People think that ADHD is just like a behaviorist in their head, bad parenting. You could not be further from the truth. ADHD means like that their frontal lobe is not turned on like the rest of their brain. It is actually a medical condition. Okay, so they cannot think clearly without their frontal lobe being fully turned on like the rest of their brain. They need these stimulants like Ritalin to wake up their frontal lobe. I'm going to really make some people mad, including my own mother, because I was ADHD and would have benefited from medication, and she was very upset that I put my son on medication. To deny your children medical services that they need is a form of child abuse. Hey, Mom. And I'm just going to stop and leave it at that. You are neglecting your child if you do not get them the things they need. And that is child abuse. The next, cloth or disposable diapers. I use mostly disposable diapers. I don't care. I mean, I care. It is bad for the environment. They are more convenient. I was a teenage mom going through college and stuff, so I did use disposable diapers. Now, I did invest in cloth diapers, and my kids were on like a regular schedule. So, I knew like when they were going to do number 2, and I would make sure they had a disposable diaper on just because that was easier to clean. But I used cloth diapers some when I was home, so I used both. But if you have the patience and time to use cloth diapers, I mean, go for it. It is better for the environment. But I don't see an issue either way. All right, guys, that's all for this. If you have any questions or want me to elaborate on any of these topics, feel free. If you disagree with me on anything, that is perfectly fine. You are totally allowed to, but let's do it with, let's have some respect for ourselves and don't make yourself sound like a jerk, because I will totally hear anybody out. But yeah, you guys have a great day, and I hope you enjoyed this tag.